If you want to learn about the world, travel. And if you can't travel, then listen to someone who's been doing it for over 30 years. Rick Steves is a travel writer who's experienced incredible moments abroad, from small interactions with cab drivers to ceremonial cultural events with thousands. Today, Rick shares what he's learned from the world and how absorbing the rhythms of other cultures helps build deeper empathy and understanding.
Travel opens us up to the wonders of our world in so many ways. It helps you appreciate nature. I mean, for me, a great day is walking high in the Swiss Alps, like tight-roping on a ridge. On one side, I've got lakes stretching all the way to Germany. On the other side, the most incredible alpine panorama anywhere, the Eiger, Monk, and Jungfrau, cut-glass peaks against that blue sky. And ahead of me, I hear the long legato tones of an Alp horn, announcing that the helicopter-stocked mountain hut is open, it's just around the corner, and the coffee schnapps is on. That connects you with nature, and it connects you with culture. And when I'm traveling, I love this whole idea that travel connects us with culture. When I'm traveling, I find that there's different slices of culture that I never realized people could be evangelical about. Cheese, for instance. You go to France, and they're crazy about cheese. I like being a bumpkin in my travels. For me, cheese was always just orange in the shape of the bread. A great thing about travel is it connects you with people. It's people that really, make your experience vital. That's the mark of a good trip. They can be just silly encounters. There's so many misunderstandings between people, and when we travel, we straighten them out. I don't know about you, but I was raised thinking the world is a pyramid with us on top and everybody else trying to figure it out. And then I traveled and I realized, we have the American dream. That's a great thing, but other people have their own dream. Norwegians have the Norwegian dream. Bulgarians have the Bulgarian dream. Travel wallops my ethnocentricity, and I'm very thankful for that. It's something to celebrate. Our dream is beautiful, but so is theirs. In my travels, I have really been impressed by the amount of pride on this planet. Wonderful pride. I was in Afghanistan once, just in a cafeteria where the backpackers were hanging out. A man sat down next to me, said, "Can I join you?" And I said, "You already have." And he said, "You're an American, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'm a professor here in Afghanistan, and I want you to know that a third of the people on this planet eat with spoons and forks like you do. A third of the people eat with chopsticks, and a third of the people eat with their fingers like I do, and we're all civilized just the same." He had a chip on his shoulder. He thought I thought less of him because he ate with his fingers. And that lesson stuck with me. And for the rest of my trips through South Asia, I was aware of that. I went to restaurants, fine restaurants with, well-dressed professional local people that had no spoons and forks. They had like a ceremonial sink in the middle of the restaurant. People would wash their hands and eat using their fingers the way God intended them to be used. It actually became quite natural for me. But these are the lessons you pick up. And it is so fun to change something that you thought was a basic truth. When we travel, we gain a little better appreciation of what is the baggage that people are carrying when they respond to us. Think of the baggage we have in our country after 9/11. Well, Iran's got baggage, and we need to understand that if we're going to deal with them smartly. And I found out a lot by going to Iran and actually traveling there. A great sort of learning area, wading pool for world exploration to me is Europe. It's kind of my beat. I love going to Europe because we have smart, similar people dealing with similar problems and coming up with different answers. We can compare notes. Europe and America are both wealthy, Christian, democratic, capitalist societies. We're all passionate about government by, for, and of the people. I've thought about this, and I think there's a difference. Here in the United States, we're all about government by, for, and of the people via the corporations we own. Now, that's not a judgmental statement. That's just a kind of an observation. And it might make sense for a government to provide a good environment for our corporations to prosper. I think in Europe, they've got government by, for, and of the people in spite of the corporations they own. I think their government goes to bat for the future, for the poor, and for the environment at the expense of their businesses. I'm fascinated by how the United States is really into legislating morality. In Europe, they've got the same victimless crime issues, and they have different approaches to them. And my friends in Europe always remind me a society has to make a choice: tolerate alternative lifestyles or build more prisons. Either we are inherently more criminal or there's something funny about our laws. We can learn from them. I think it's interesting when you go to Scandinavia, how many drunk teenagers you find on decorated trucks. And finally, I asked, what's going on? And it was always in the spring, like May and June. And they said, here in Scandinavia, our kids really get drunk on graduation time. They hire a truck and a driver, they let the kids decorate it, and the kids go from house to house, and their parents serve them the beer. Now, in the United States, we deal with this problem of teens drinking and driving on graduation with moralism. Just say no. In Scandinavia, they would rather have a situation where, okay, the kids are going to drink anyways. Let's do it. I love to have European friends as sounding board so I can test out ideas and confusion and frustration for me. One thing that's occurred to me recently is Americans are loving, compassionate people, but we're not very good at grappling with the gap between the rich and the poor. When you travel, you have the poor reaching into your window. You can't escape it if you're traveling. And it's been a powerful impact in the value of my travel. And I'll tell you, I've learned that even if you're motivated only by greed, if you know what's good for you, you don't want to be filthy rich in a desperately poor world. We're on a track to that if we don't learn from the other parts of the world that have not dealt with this very smartly. Let me finish by taking you to Turkey. I just love Turkey, and as a tour guide, I had the chance to take a group to get to know a whirling dervish. I knew this dervish, and I asked him, can our group come and watch you pray? And he said, you can watch me pray, but I want you to know what I'm doing. I said, great. So we went up onto his roof. The sun was setting. He was wearing his robe and his hat. And he said, and I'll just paraphrase it, he said, I'm a dervish. That's like a monk that follows Mevlana, who is a sort of a teacher in Islam like St. Francis was in Christianity, a real teacher of love. And as a dervish, I pray 5 times a day, meditating on the teachings of Mevlana. One hand goes up to receive the love of our Creator, and the other hand, like the spout on a tea kettle, goes down to shower God's love on his creation. And I whirl, and I whirl, and I lose myself in that trance, thinking about the teaching of Mevlana. To be there as a tour guide with my group, watching him, his head tilts over, his robe billows out, and he loses himself in that beautiful thought. I thought, wow, I am really understanding now, like my group was, that this man is very different from us, but he's fundamentally the same. And if we can take home that understanding, that's the very best souvenir possible. And for the rest of our lives, when we look at the rest of the world, rather than fear its diversity, we can better celebrate it. I've traveled, and travel has inspired me to be engaged and to do what I can to make a difference. In other words, it's helped me to become a better citizen of this planet. And I hope thoughtful travels can do the same for you.